Hello dear viewers, welcome to the making of project 57, the grid text. If you want to see how the geometry nodes was made, check out the link in the top right corner. This video is going to look at the camera settings and the materials that were used to create this awesome effect that you see here. So without further ado, let's get started with looking at the materials. And we are going to start with the world shader, the one that is responsible for getting this awesome effect in the back, that is also animated, like you saw in the demo. And let me make it full screen so you can get a screen grab if you want to see it. We have some animation, some UV mapping, and we build the patterns and the streaks here. And the way we did this, let me show you. We use the generated coordinates, and this mapping was plugged here just so that we can scale it like this for the noise texture. But let me show you this pattern first. So if we do Control click Shift on this with Node Wrangler add-on, you see this Voronoi texture on Chebyshek with this scale, and with this color ramp after it, that it's responsible for getting our pattern that you see here. Let me switch to camera view. Leave it like this, I think it's better. So this one, it's controlling the effect. Okay, and how I created the colors. We have this color with these values that it's basically plugged here into this mix shader. So we have this mix shader that it's controlled by this color ramp, that is the mask, and this mix shader is controlling this that you saw in the background and these streaks that were created by crushing this noise texture by playing with this value, giving it a higher value. You get these nice streaks, and then the color ramp switch to constant is responsible for making sure that these streaks don't have a soft edge, they are hard, so you can get these lines. And then I also did this setup to make sure that we only see the streaks in these places here. And I did this by multiplying this value, this color ramp from here. It has basically a gradient from 0 to 1. I multiplied it, so 0 will be 0, and anything above will have some sort of influence. And by multiplying then this value with this value, we can control the strength of this setup. If we take a look, this value now controls just how bright these spots are. So if we make it like 0, we see nothing, but as we increase this value, the streaks gets more and more bright. So this is how I built this world shader. It's really cool. I like it. Let's look at it at the materials. Let's see the dots. Wait 1 second. I forgot to tell you about the animation part in the world shader. I just played with the location. As you can see here, you can move these lines by playing with these values. And in order to make it a lot smaller and to change the direction, I use this value on this divide node, and I plug the frame here. This is #frame, and that's gonna give me the frame. So this is how this works. Back to the object shaders and the dot material. It's an emission material with these values, very high value 8, and then the strength is controlled by this map range that gives this value from 1 to 20. That gives us a pulsing effect, because again we use the frame, we divide it by this value to decrease the frequency of the pulse. Then I pass it through a sine wave to get a nice smooth organic up-down movement. And knowing that the sine is from -1 to 1, I could remap it to these values, 1 to 20, used for the strength. So at 1 you get this, and then at 20 you get this. So you have a nice pulsing effect. And for the lines, this is the interesting part. We started with a straight line, but by using these UVs, custom UVs that I've built, we can break it. And if you want to see how this was made, make sure to check the Geometry Nodes tutorial that you have the link in the comments. So having this custom UV, I break it up and I used the Y location. Then I multiplied it, so I have more room to play with the values. And by multiplying this 0 to 1 range, I have now a 0 to 7 range. And then I use a ping pong that can basically decide how many lines do you want to have just by playing with these values. And then I did this setup, color mix, one set to dodge with white color and one set to burn with a black color, and that allows me to control, if I plug here, I can control the softness of the lines. Actually, this is the thickness, and this is the softness of the lines. So I have a nice control over this, and you can do what you want. And this can control how many lines you want to have. So you can have 2 lines, for example. And by mixing then these two, this emission color with a value of 8 and strength of 8 with a transparent shader. In order for this to work, you have to change this value in the settings, the materials settings, to alpha blend or alpha hashed. I can mask these black parts to be zero transparency, to be transparent, and the other parts to be the glowing materials. And now by playing with these values, we get something like this. We can decide just how thin or thick the values are and get this nice glowing neon effect. And like I said, we can increase the number to get more lines. Something like this. We can do something like this if we want. And we can play with the values. For the render settings, we have, of course, the bloom enabled, but with a very small value, because these are very small objects, and increasing the bloom too much is gonna get you some bad results. And apart from that, nothing special in the settings. The camera, I use a depth of field that I animated to get that in the intro, this effect that you see here. That makes for a nice intro. It's controlled by this depth of field. And the depth of field, it's also animated. I played with the values because at 0 you get this, and then at some point you start to see some of the geometry. And now later on, after I did the intro, I basically deactivate this because I wanted to see these lines clear. And that's it. That's it for this project. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to check the Geometry Nodes tutorial to see how the geometry was done. And if you like this video, come back and watch more of my content. Until then, have a nice day and happy blending.